We are here with Mom Code, and we are doing one of our empowerment book clubs where we talk to an author and she shares with us, or he, about her book and teaches us a little bit about the contents of her book. And we're really excited to have an author today. Her name is Odalys Mendez, and she wrote Phoenix Wants to Go on Vacation. And so she will share with us about this story, but a little bit about her. So, Adalis Mendez is a financial crusader, educator, and full time entrepreneur who believes every child deserves to dream and every family deserves the tools to build wealth early. With over 20 years of finance and sales experience, she now leads a financial agency and youth empowerment movement that helps families protect what matters and grow with purpose. Her programs blend discipline with pride, making money feel accessible, emotional, and powerful, especially for kids. We're so happy to have you with us here today, Odalis, and tell us more about your book.
Thank you so much, Kim. It's such an honor to speak with you guys. I am so excited. So I have a quick question. Have you ever been in Target and your kids pick up the thing and you hear yourself say, "We can't afford it,"
Mm,
and you watch
absolutely.
their face
Yeah.
fall a little? Yep. Every one of us.
Yeah.
What if that exact moment could be something that they thank you for when they're 25?
Mm,
That's what tonight's about. So like Kim said, I'm Odalys, and I want to be really clear with you. I'm not an expert who has already arrived. I'm a mom on her own way to financial freedom. Right now, same as you. I just made one decision. My kids are not going to start where I started. So here's the real question, and I'm asking me too. Are we letting money stop us? And without ever meaning to, are we handing that same fear straight to our kids? So here are the four habits, and for each one, something you can do with your kid tonight. Earn. More money comes from creating value. Nobody just hands it to us, except kids on their birthdays, right? And they normally go and run to spend it. But what if they save 50% of it? What if you make them save 50% of it so they can thank you later? Ask your kid tonight, how could you earn $5 this week? Then be quiet. Let them think. Keep. A keeper beats a spender every time. Tonight, and it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep. I really wish someone would have taught me this when I was younger. I started working for a paycheck when I was 16 years old. And if I would have just kept more than I spent, I would be a retired millionaire by now. So tonight, start a three-jar split. One to keep, one to spend, and one to give, whether it's jars or envelopes, whatever you have in the kitchen. And then grow. Money can make money. I ask the kids all the time, can you make money while you're sleeping? Most of them don't think they can. But especially at their age, the thing that they have going for us that we don't is time. That's their superpower. The more time that they have, it doesn't take a lot of money. It could take $10, but that money over time can grow to a bigger amount. Tonight, show them how a dollar grows. One of the rules that we teach is the rule of 72. Have you guys heard of the rule of 72? So Albert Einstein teaches that rule. It says if you learn if you learn it, then you can earn it. And if you don't, you're gonna pay it. But basically, it takes the interest rate and it divides it by 72, and it's gonna tell you how long is it gonna take for your money to grow. So if you have an interest rate at 1%. And that's another good question to ask the kids. What is interest? A simple definition for interest is either something you pay or something your money earns. And if you take 1% into 72, it's going to take 72 years for your money to double. Not exciting. None of us in this call really have 72 years to wait for our money to double. But the higher the interest, the faster our money doubles. And then at the end of the day, we can make all the money in the world, but we can't take it with us. So we teach our kids to give. The real plan includes other people. Tonight, pick one thing you'll give together and let them choose it. One conversation is if you can only take one thing from this, take this. No becomes a not yet. And here's our plan to get there. That's it. That's the whole shift. Say it at dinner tonight. Your kids will remember that sentence longer than they'll remember anything you buy them. If I ask my kids all the time, do you remember what you got for Christmas last year? Most of the time, they have no idea. But saving and growing their money for them is the gift that will continue to give into their future. So, this is the book, and it's available on Amazon. I'm actually going to post the link for it to save on the chat. This is Phoenix, and he wants to go on vacation. So I'm going to read you guys one of the page. This is when they're planning for the vacation. When the total popped up, Phoenix's mouth dropped open. 4,836? That's a lot of money, he whispered. His dad nodded gently. It is. And that's why we said not right now. Not because we don't want to go, not because you don't deserve it, not because we have, but because we have to take our care of our responsibilities first. Phoenix looks down at his hands. But other families go, he said quietly. His mom reached for his hand. Every family has different money, different bills, different emergencies. Last month, remember when the car broke and when your sister got sick and when the water heater exploded? Phoenix nodded. He remembered the stress. He remembered the late night plumber. He remembered his parents whispering in the hallway. That money had a job, his mom said. It had to go to emergencies, not vacations. Phoenix felt something shift inside of him. He wasn't mad anymore. He was curious. So, if emergencies didn't happen, could we go? His dad smiled. If we plan, if we save, if we work together as a family, Phoenix sat up straighter. What do we have to do? His mom grinned. First, we make a plan. Second, we cut some spending. Third, we save every week. And fourth, she tapped his chest, we stay patient. So that's just a little bit about the book. And you guys can email momcodecircle@gmail.com and I'll send you a free family starter pack with 5 conversations and worksheets and a reading list. Here's what I want you to do tonight. Grab the book, read one page to your kid before bed. That's the whole start. Can I be honest with you before we go? While I was up here talking about kids learning to keep money and grow money, some of you were thinking, I never learned this either. That's the most common thing I hear. And there's zero shame in it. Most of us never were taught. If that's you, I sit down with people for real money conversations. No pressure, no judgment, the same idea. Not yet becomes a plan. just for grown-ups. If you want that, let Mom Code know and we'll find some time to connect. And thank you so much.
That was great, Odalys. So, a little reflection when I read the book. So, my daughter started driving, and we have this progressive experience, right? Where she's driving, and I'm like holding on to my imaginary steering wheel and my imaginary brake and gas pedal. And then over time, we've evolved to then slowly, I was talking, and then sometimes she would answer. And lately, we've gotten to the point where I literally can read something to her and she could tell me what's happened so that her brain can start processing while she's driving. So I read this book to her while she was driving to school at the end of the school year. And one of the things that came up for me that you mentioned already in the 4 steps was the whole give back part. I think that as a kid, we had like a little ledger, and we would get small allowance or birthday gifts or whatever. And we'd have to put on our ledger, and we'd have to demonstrate to our parents where we spent the money, um, or how much we saved. And then they would add to it and we could buy something. So they kind of taught us some of those skills. But one of the skills that I think is great that you've added on is the idea of putting also a percentage of it in a different jar to give. And that as a family, we could decide what we're going to give it to that month, that year, et cetera. I think that just adds to the kind of community involvement. And so I want to say, like, I really appreciate that part.
Thank
So that was the feedback that I wanted to make sure I gave to you again on, in a large platform. I don't know. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions or comments for Odalys?
Well, I also enjoyed that part of it. And one thing I really find hard with my kids is they want to spend all their money. And they say, I earned it, I want to spend it. And I talk to them about, okay, but what are you say like we need to save you need to think ahead about what's coming and what to save for. And I tell you, they just want to spend down every last dime. Like I have $40. I want to spend $39.99 of that
you.
on what I get today.
I know, right? And they don't add the taxes, right? They're like, oh, this
Right,
is,
right.
they have
Oh,
no
yes.
idea.
And so, part of the challenge with kids and adults is we have the money, we want to spend it. And I don't know, do you have any real, other than the lesson, right? Like we can't do this big thing if we don't make that plan and start the process of saving. But I don't know. What else? I mean, what are your thoughts on that part of it? Like that real specific challenge is hard for me, especially when my daughter earns her money and, she has her debit card and she's like, I'm not giving that card to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, well, I think if you show, there's two things. It's our brain is wired for pain or pleasure.
Yeah.
And so if we make it a pleasure, if we make saving a pleasure and we tie it to a future thing, but it has to be a real thing. What is it that you really want? I worked when I was 16 and I spent all the money I had. I wish I hadn't done it now. But, thinking back, there's not anything that I had at 16. There's nothing that I carried forward that I said, "Oh, this is the great thing that I had." But if I tied it to that pleasure, hey, do you want to work for the rest of your life for money? Or that pain, right? Tie it to that pain because it's not easy to earn money even at their age. Do you want to
Mhm.
work for the rest? Do you see the people at Walmart? I'm always talking to this with my kids. It's like, do you see that person at Walmart? Do you think they want to be on their feet for 8 hours at 70 years old? No, they don't. They just don't have another choice. Do you want to have another choice? Okay. And it's a fight. I put it up right up front where it's either whether they make money or not, they know that they have to pay the piper. It's 50% goes to long-term savings and anything that they want, they save twice for it. That's the other rule. So not only do I take 50% of whatever the birthday money or the money that they earn working for me and I save it to their long-term savings, I also say, okay, my son wants to build a soccer field in our backyard because he wants to be this soccer professional. And I said, okay, we did the budget, we ran the numbers, it's going to be a few $1,000s for us to convert our backyard to have a professional soccer field with turf and nets so the ball doesn't fly over to the neighbors all the time. And I said, okay, so now we're gonna save twice for it. So if it's $1,000, I'm gonna save $2,000. But why, mom? But why? Because you're gonna thank me later. And the more that you tie it to their future, do you want to work for money for the rest of your life? Do you want to, or, if you tie it, like I tie it a lot to my personal experience. I didn't have the opportunity to travel when I was a kid. My mom didn't come for money. My trips were maybe to Disneyland once in a while, but other than that, I never got into on a plane until I was an adult. My kids were afforded a different life, but it's still important for them to understand what that pain is if they don't do it, and then what the pleasure can be by doing it. So it's not just about saving all of it. Hey, you can still spend some, but if you consistently don't save and you build this habit early when you're older, you're going to suffer. And these are
Mhm.
all the ways that you're gonna suffer. And
Uh,
sometimes it can't come from you. Sometimes it has to come from someone else. When I teach the high school students and I go into their class and I say, okay, do you guys want to be in a bankruptcy? No one raises their hand. Okay, but if you guys continue the path that you're continuing, well, that's what's going to happen. Because if you spend every penny you earn, that's what's going to happen. And so having those conversations, not only coming from you, but pointing them to these type of resources to have them think outside the box.
thank you. Yeah, that is so true. It is so true. And I honestly had the same experience like working as a teenager all through school. I mean, I was always able to pay my bills, but I didn't save, I really didn't, and I wish I did save early. So, yeah.
I have a question. What is the thinking behind saving double? How do you pass that one off? How do you convince of that one?
So it's pay yourself first. If you're willing to buy the thing that's
Mhm.
honestly going to end up in the trash one day, or, good for that one experience, then why not pay yourself? Pay that future self first and use the
Also,
and use the same amount. So okay, my son is all about squishies. I don't know about you guys, but it's like the thing, and it has to be Neato because it's somehow different than all the other brands. And so I'm like, okay, it's a $20 squishy. Okay, well, let me know when you have 40, and then we'll buy that $20 squishy,
mhm.
and then I'll save that other one. And I try to make them a part of the conversation. I don't necessarily show them all the money that they have saved in all the buckets because then they get, oh, I'm rich. I'm like, no, you're not rich. And that's one of the questions I get a lot is like, oh, when I do this in schools is like, are you rich? Are you a millionaire? And I'm like, no, because no one taught me, because no one sat down and taught me how to do any of this, but you can. And if you tie it to that, like there's one day that you can get where you don't have to work for money. And it's especially your teenagers that are already working for money, they know it's not easy. I mean, they're getting paid minimum wage. So tie enough pain to that action for them to say, okay, maybe I should. Maybe I should save.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I like that.
good advice.
Yeah, I like that.
Easier said than done for sure. And it's a fight with my son when he gets birthday money. Like I'm like, hand it over. Come on, and he's not gonna like it, but he is gonna love me later because when he's 25 and he has enough money to put a down payment on a house or to do whatever that he wants to do, then he's gonna thank me and hopefully transfer that skill to his kids.
Mm,
Yeah.
that's a good one. That's a good one. Trying to think if there's any other challenges. Yeah, the whole concept of wealthy and rich is interesting. because I think when we were younger and somebody had $1 million, that really was rich. And now they're saying it's not the same. It doesn't go as far as it used to. And so that's a little disappointing that we have to put so much more into our retirement to retire. But hey, I'm not quite ready yet. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that comes up or any other points, so Dallas, that you wanted to make sure that you included.
Make it a family thing, make it a family conversation. It's hard, one of the things growing up, other than we don't have money, we don't have money, that's all I heard my mom say as a single mom. If she would have been more open about what is it that it's not that she didn't have money, right? Because we have a paycheck, we're getting paid, but it's going for this, it's
Mm,
going for that. People, the kids, if you ask them, what do you think I pay for? They had no idea that we pay for trash. You pay for
mm,
trash to get picked up? What? And I'm like, yes, everything costs money, including the trash. And so it's just, they don't know. And then I start early, like the pricing game, with my kids were young, it's like this costs $10, this costs 15. I'm gonna buy a water bottle at a stadium for $10, the same water I could have got for $1 somewhere else. And then it's them. Sometimes, I'll be in the store and they're like, that costs a lot of money. And I'm like,
mhm.
I'm glad you think that,
You
because
know,
I'm
it's,
getting
yeah.
them involved in what pricing looks like and what inflation is, and in terms that we never learned, that we didn't learn until it was too late for us.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Oh,
your worksheets that you have with Dallas, are some of them like budgeting worksheets that the kids could use?
We have there's a
That's why I was
saving
just
track.
curious.
Yeah, there's a saving tracker. So I have a thermometer one. Not necessarily budgeting, because I mean kids don't have bills. They have
Yeah.
goals.
Save. Okay.
Yeah, so it's, what's the goal that you're saving for, whether it's a trip or a concert or that thing that you really want, because it's not just about saving and never spending, but what is it that you want? What does that cost? Like when Phoenix, finally found out like, oh, a Bahamas trip, and that number is not real. If I were to look at what a Bahamas actually costs, it's a lot more, but even $5,000 as a saving goal, the reality is that most Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings. Over
Mhm.
58% of Americans have less than $1,000 in their savings. And so just shifting that mindset where, hey, I'm saving for a goal, I'm saving for this thing, and making sure that it's a bucket, that there is a spend bucket, there is that short-term goal bucket, but the best time to start saving for retirement for kids is when they're kids. The best time to start saving for retirement is when they're kids. I set up my kids from as soon as 5 years ago with retirement accounts that will, because they'll compound over time. It's not like you have to put a
Mhm.
lot of money into it. And they're like, well, why retirement if I haven't even started working? Well, if you want to stop working, that's the only way to start saving, because there's a misnomer. They think $1 million is enough to retire. That's not true. It's not
yeah.
true at
Yeah.
all. Most of the numbers that I'm working with families that are middle income, you need $4 to $7 million to be able to retire at the age of 65.
Yeah.
And most people
Yeah.
don't want to work until they're 65.
Mhm.
It's true.
4 to 7.
Yeah. So having
On
that
my way.
having that income goal in mind for the kids, and having open conversations about why this can't happen now. I always talk to my kids about, hey, it's not, no, it's not, I can't afford it. It's, I'm choosing not to spend on this because of this other reason, because I'm saving for Cuba. I did a Cuba trip that I really wanted to go, because I'm saving for your retirement or your savings. And I don't necessarily tell them how much they have saved, but I do say, hey, I put a thermometer and I have my goal in mind. I'm like, hey, you're one step closer, you're one step closer, you're one step closer to those goals.
Yeah, having that visual thermometer when you're saving for something is really good.
And family goals, what's in it for them, right? So a lot of the families that I work with, one of their main goals is to buy a home.
Hmm.
They feel like they home ownership is so far away. And it's hard. In the book I talk about like saying no to Starbucks, saying no to the little
Yeah,
things to be able to save for the thing that you actually want. But what's in it for them? If we buy a home, not only am I creating a legacy for you and something that you're gonna, I always tell my kids this all the money I have is I'm not taking it with me. It's not gonna be buried with me. It's gonna be for you guys. This home is for you, and oh, you want that backyard or whatever is the thing that they want. Having a family goal and tying it together, then you're not fighting against them. You guys are both holding your hands together on accomplishing the goal. Okay.
yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
guys.
Odalys.